Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whatever day it is. Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, coming up soon. Yes, the holidays are here upon us and we survived COVID, didn't we? My name is Theo Bayou. My traditional name is Weak Eye, which is the large wing of the raven. I come from Metlakatla, Alaska. I've lived in Anchorage since 2003. And I have 7 grandchildren. 10 now. I should change that. Ooh, it's 10 now. And I have a daughter in Canada. I have my other daughter here in Anchorage who is a language, Shamalgat language is what she's doing here in Anchorage area. I wanted to share with you folks the stories of my home growing up on an island in Southeast Alaska. Was a little different from what we have today. I was, I'm 73 years old. I'll be 74 next month. And I'd like to talk about what I remember, the stories of Metlakatla on the holiday time. December was always a busy. As soon as you burped your turkey on Thanksgiving, Christmas started of the planning in my home. Way back. I remember living in our home, which was located right across the street from the William Duncan Memorial Church. My father built that home, Ted Blandum. And growing up there, my dad, he would prepare for Christmas. We'd go out to get our Christmas tree. We didn't go to a Christmas lot. We went into the wilderness to go find the best pine tree. Many people use the spruce tree, but ours was always a pine. And we would go and walk through the woods, tromp through the muskeg just to find that perfect tree. Oh, I remember those memories and bringing cocoa. My dad had his coffee and we would tromp through to go get our tree. Oh, those memories. And then bringing it back to the truck, carrying it. Oh, that was fun. But tying it down so we wouldn't lose it driving back to the community. Getting trees there was always a highlight for Christmas for many of our people there, and it still is today. They still go out and find that perfect tree. My dad loved to decorate Christmas time, and I loved helping him. Maybe that's where I got all my decorating time from. But my dad would put lights up all over. And he made this Christmas tree, which I remember very distinctly. It was made of plywood. I didn't know what he was doing, but it was shaped like a diamond. And then he went and made these tiny little holes through them, kind of outlining it, and in the middle, in each row. I didn't know what he was doing. But I went out there and I looked, and here he put these huge outdoor lights inside those holes to poke out. And then he took, remember those old pie tins, aluminum pie tins? He put those around it so that it would glow more from the light. But that was another tree he made for us outside our home. Every year he would bring that out and put it in front of our house. So those are brief memories. I have a sister, Karen. She's 5 years older than me. And Karen was always the type that, she wanted to decorate the tree. And I always wanted to help. And I don't know what it was, but we'd get that tree decorated. And my dad would say, "Beautiful job, good work." He said, "I'm going to go out and look at it." So he would go out to go in front of the big picture window we had. And my sister would make fun of me and we'd start tossing around, rolling around on the floor. And while my dad's out admiring the beautiful tree, you can imagine from like a window like this looking out, seeing this big tree, and then all of a sudden it went over like this. Yeah, we knocked it over. We were a normal family. But my dad would come in, he'd say, okay, let's pick it up and let's start all over again. And we did. But Christmas in Metlakatla, I remember those days. I remember sneaking up to our attic, up to the upstairs, and all of a sudden, I saw these big dancing dolls. I don't know if some of you remember dancing dolls where the legs hook to your feet and you hold the doll and you dance around with it. They were dancing dolls. Well, my sister and I found them, which we weren't supposed to. But we were playing around upstairs and she said, you know what? Look at the legs of the doll. Boy, those would be cool stockings. Don't you think so? And I went, yeah. So we lost our dolls that year because we cut the legs off those dolls and took the stuffing out. And then we put them on our feet like stockings. Oh, we had so much fun with those. But crazy Christmas stories. That's what I remember growing up. And Santa coming to our house because the Annette Island Packing Company would provide stockings filled with goodies for the children and big bags of the best oranges. Oh, those oranges were delicious. And they would deliver them. And Santa would come and give us a stocking. And as I grew older, I was even one of those Santas out delivering because our Santa didn't show up. And I was one of the elves helping out. But you know, I had fun because I was around children all the time. And that's me. Put me around children and I become a child myself. You know, when you play with them and you enjoy it. As you get older, Christmas was being with our church. I belonged back then, growing up, to the William Duncan Memorial Church. And they had a beautiful choir that sang. Every year there was preparation for cantatas. And we had to go to practice every Tuesday, Thursday evening was practice time. But singing the cantatas, the director, Bernard Guthrie, he's passed now, but he was such an excellent director. And the piano players we had Lillian Buchard, my sister Karen Thompson, Bert Wellington, and those are piano players. I mean, you wouldn't believe such a small community that we had excellent musicians there. But we would get ready for cantatas that would happen usually the Sunday before Christmas. And oh, the churches would get ready. The ladies of the church would get all of the goodies to be served after cantata. Those were beautiful days. The singing. I kind of miss that, living up here in Anchorage, because I don't know of cantatas that happen anymore, especially with COVID pandemic. And the ladies of the church held Christmas bazaars. I see a lot of those happening here in Anchorage by many, many churches today. And I used to watch my aunties prepare. Oh, my auntie Dorothy McKinney, she could sew, I'm telling you. She would make Christmas pillows. She would make Christmas penguins, stuffed penguins. They made beautiful quilts and embroidered many, many bedding. They embroidered pillowcases. They embroidered tablecloths. And they would have the biggest bazaar. They had a fish pond for kids at the bazaar. Oh, I love fish pond because you don't know what you're going to get in that bag of fish when you pull it out of that center. And then they had what they call a coffee house. They served hamburgers and potato salad. Then their dessert was strawberry shortcake. Those churches, the Presbyterian and the Duncan Memorial churches, held 2 bazaars every year. Each one had their own. And Santa would be there to have photos taken with the children. The men loved it because there was dart throwing. Oh, those guys can throw darts, I'm telling you. They wanted those big prizes. But everything was Christmassy. I remember now, this is kind of hilarious, but one year I was very small. Our parents brought us to the town hall because Santa was going to be there. And they had goodies for the children and cocoa and coffee, and we all went in there, and believe it or not, there's these huge balconies that are around the whole circumference of the gym. And Santa came in the window of the balcony, and he was ho-ho-hoing to everybody up there. He came down and hugged the children, and oh, Santa did so much for the community. And then for some reason, some people were walking outside and saw that huge ladder going up to that window in the balcony. And they said, those crazy kids, they must be trying to climb up and down the ladder to get in the building. So they took the ladder down. Oh my. Then it was time for Santa to leave. And this was, oh, thank goodness it snowed so deep out there. Santa was getting ready to leave, and he was ho-ho-hoing and saying goodbye to the children. And as he climbed out the window, he disappeared. Just like going up a chimney or down a chimney, he disappeared. Oh, Santa fell to the ground, but he was so well padded. The snow gave him a soft fall. And that's one of the many stories of Metlakatla I remember, our Santa. The community really still to this day goes out for Christmas down there. They run the fire truck. They put Santa on the fire truck to wave to the children. And this year, because of the pandemic, they had a drive-through at the Annette Island Service Unit, and they gave stockings out to all the children the parents brought by. And Santa was there to give them their stockings. So they haven't stopped. They're still doing it today. When you think back, I could tell stories about my home. Wintertime there, our lake would freeze. It was called Skaters Lake. Oh, the fun the community had there, because there wasn't magical road to go by it like it is today. We used to have to hike a trail from behind the William Duncan Memorial Church, and you'd hike through this trail through the woods to get to Skaters Lake. You'd think our parents would worry about us because you don't know if there's wolves out there, but here we were, taking our ice skates and going to Skaters Lake. There was a woman there that I remember, one of my friend's mother, her Evelyn Booth and Larry Booth. Their mom, she would be there and had a big fire going on the sideline and hot cocoa being made for all the skaters that were there, and marshmallows. Yeah. So the community would come together and go ice skating. Oh, I loved ice skating. You can't get me on a lake today, but ice skating was awesome because we used to play this game, Crack the Whip. I don't know if many of you have done that. And what you do is you make a long line, hold hands real tight, and the ones in the center would kind of stop skating real fast, and they pull you around, and the whole line would go this way, and you'd be flying over that lake. You'd never let go because you'd end up in the muskeg. But ice skating in Metlakatla was a pastime. Sledding was another thing. With all the snow like we have today, children would go sledding. That was by the Duncan Church. They would block off the roads there where we could go down. And some of us would wax the blades on our sleds, use beeswax and candles. We would just get them so they could go fast. Kind of scary though if you think about it, because sometimes at the end of that road was a beach by the water. And we would scream and laugh, and we'd make trains and whiz down that hill. And oh, it was such fun, you know, back then growing up, because it was a safe place. Safe place to go sledding. We went ice skating. Not much skiing, but my dad bought us a pair of skis, which we had hooked up to us. I don't remember skiing to this day, but I remember watching my sister. And so my children, when they were growing up, my daughter Karen, I bought these little plastic skis for her, figuring, you know, I used to do it. My sister did it. And so we put them on my daughter in front of our home. And then we had a dog, a miniature collie, and we actually hooked that dog up to the harness and his leash and told Karen, here, hold on, you know, to the dog. Don't let him get away. And we'd make the dog run, and she would be screaming going down the street. And there was hardly any traffic through that roadway anyway, so. But you tried to give the best for your children down there, so they have great memories of Christmas and winter time down there. This is the first year Metlakatla's getting a lot of snow. And I'm really happy to see that there are sledding going on, and that they are blocking a road for the kids to have a good time down there. That still happens. You know, bring those memories back for children. Oh, Metlakatla. I really miss home. I haven't been home because of this pandemic. I used to go home in the summer times to see my sister. But this year, it's kind of lonesome. I have my daughter and her family here, Marcella and her family here, which is okay. You know, as long as you got family. My husband's family, Martha, and her family are here. So we try our best to keep our chin up, be happy for our children and our grandchildren here. But let's go back to Metlakatla again. Let's go back to those great memories that you have growing up down there. And wintertime, when I was little, if you ever walk in the snow up here and you kind of hear that as you're walking in the snow, when I hear that, I think of my dad, because he had this big long sled, and he would put the oil drum on it to go down to Guthrie's Fuel, to the gas station on the dock area. He'd say, come on, you'll come with me. And I'd get on the sled. And I could hear those distinctly today when I walk. It reminds me of my dad pulling that sled as we went down there. And that was how we used to get our fuel. I mean, we didn't have the fancy trucks and vehicles, you know, back then. It was wagons or a sled to go to Guthrie's Fuel to go get what we needed. So it's a little different today for our people and our young people at home, because it seems like electricity, diesel, all that is how you heat your home now. Back then we had fuel tanks outside our houses, and we had to get them filled, and they did not have a vehicle back then growing up. They didn't have the vehicle that would come deliver, because there were only boardwalks, not roads, boardwalks in between, you know, on the blocks of the streets in our community. It wasn't until maybe, I think it was around the 50s, that they started putting roads in there, putting gravel in and taking out those boardwalks. But everybody had to walk to go get fuel. And Christmas there, caroling. Oh, how many of you ever gone caroling? And we would sing in Shimalgat, our language. 2 carols that we would sing. And today I hear the language programs in Juneau, here in Anchorage, and Metlakatla, because they still go caroling and sing in our own language. 2 songs. And I remember my mom and my aunties singing that song, the 2 songs that were taught to them. And we used to sing those songs. I still remember the chorus to one of them. Why shouldn't it Amadel? Why shouldn't it Amadel? Why shouldn't it Amadel? Why shouldn't it Amadel? Ska me and Christ. Yep. Today, being in Anchorage, the group that sings the 2 community Shimalgat songs, they give us a call up here and we FaceTime so that we can hear it again. Every Christmas Eve, they give us a call, and I'm usually at my daughter Marcella's home, and that's where we listen to them sing. Of course, we try to sing with them, and I have a hard time because as an elder, you'd think about these times and all your family. You think about them, those that have gone on, and our ancestors who sang these songs. And I am glad that our young people are still doing it. I thank them for that. I thank our community for what they do down there today. Someday I'm going to spend Christmas in Metlakatla. That's a goal. Maybe when I hit 80. Who knows? Who knows? But Christmas in your hometown, I think, has always been the best for me. I love holidays. I love the holidays here as I live in Anchorage. We still do baking. Oh, my Auntie Dorothy, that woman could bake. I mean, she had recipes of her own. And I was glad that she shared some of them with us. And then as I started to grow my family in Metlakatla, my Auntie Bernita Brendable always opened her home to do cookies, to come down and frost the cookies that she made. She made the best spice cookies. I still make those today. And I work with my grandchildren now. I have them frost cookies with me. But my Auntie B, she always had the choir come in to eat. She always, after cantata at the church, the singing choir, she'd have family come gather at her home. I remember those days. My Auntie B always made the best Christmas time. I still remember, being with my cousins and just enjoying the holiday. My auntie always had blue lights, Bernita, blue lights on her tree. And she had a big bay view window. She lived in one of the oldest homes that's still standing today. And it had a big bay window, and that's where her big Christmas tree would go with the blue lights on it. Now today they do boat parades. Our Metlakatla community is a fishing community. And they go out and the boats decorate. Oh, they put lights on and they go in front of the community, and everybody gathers down to the docking area or down the beach line, the shoreline down there to watch the boats go by. Metlakatla makes our community special during the holidays. They really do. If you went caroling, the church caroling down there, I'm telling you, you better not eat dinner or have anything, because when you went caroling in Metlakatla, you ate at every home you stopped at. And I remember the big, huge, it's shaped like a T, and it had these lights on the top. And the Reese brothers, Danny and Duder, would help the men carry that big thing. And it had a large wire that would run to the homes. It was to plug in the lights so that the carolers outside had some light around when they were singing. And back in those early days, they sang outside. They did not, go in the homes unless it was an elder's home that was not mobile enough to go out. But everybody would come out on their porches and listen to the carolers. Lillian Buchert, she's passed, but she had the talent of playing that little pump organ. It was about this big, and to get it going, you had to move your feet like this to pump it. And as you pumped it, that was how she actually played that organ to have music for the carolers. And then there was two men that had handles on each end of that organ, and they would pick it up and carry it to the next place. But you go into the home, the people of the homes would say, come in, have some coffee, have some cocoa. And you would go in, and it wasn't just coffee and cocoa. Those people had cookies, they had cakes, they had sandwiches, they had salmon, open-faced salmon sandwiches those were so good. Or they would make deer soup to warm you up. And then the three men that carried that big old light fixture would come down and say, we're ready for the next house, So we'd wish our families a Merry Christmas, and then we'd all march out and head to the next house. It got to a point where, we'd be so full that the last house was Ray Hewson. I remember this distinctly. Raymond Hewson. He was, I believe, the oldest of the Hewson family down there. And he would do turkey and all the trimmings. And that was always our last stop, because it was down towards the elder senior citizen living area. But he would have turkey. And he would invite those that were in the elder living area home to come from their little apartments out to come eat with the carolers. And those times of caroling in Metlakatla really put good memories to me. And I think of those today. I do. I could sit at home and listen and hear singing. Brings tears, yes. But they're good memories. They're happy tears. I miss those people in Metlakatla. I really, really do. I miss those that provided all the activities with the church. I miss all those activities of getting ready for church bazaars. And then, of course, I know my grandchildren would love Metlakatla if they were there, because of the sledding, the ice skating, the fun times of playing outside. It's a good place to be, a good place to have your children. And then after caroling, Christmas Day, since my dad built our home, I remember growing up there because our home was right across from the William Duncan Memorial Church. I remember my mom and dad always had this huge, huge wood stove out where they could cook on top of it. And they would make bacon and eggs and potatoes and pancakes. And they would invite all of our family after church to come in and have breakfast with us. I remember that. Yeah. All my aunties and my uncles. In fact, my aunties and uncles are all gone now, and it's their children that I remember. My sister, Karen, still lives in Metlakatla today, and she's raising some of her grandchildren. She still goes to the churches. She's an excellent piano player and plays for not just one church. It's any church that requests her to come play. She plays for the school district, for the kids during Christmas programs. Many of you remember the Christmas programs growing up in your schools. Oh, we had them at home. And those were the things to get excited to go to, because the whole community showed up for Christmas programs. That was, I think, one of the, before school closed for the holiday, was the Christmas programs. Metlakatla is known for musicians. They have great bands. I grew up playing mellophone, and I played the alto sax. And as my younger children were in high school, in pep band, I would join the pep band and play with them also, because parents were included. If you wanted to play instruments and you had an instrument, you can come and play with the bands at the school, especially Christmas time. That was always fun. And basketball, of course, they have their big tournaments. They used to have their own holiday tournament where they had the teams in Metlakatla play against each other, because that's where you get to wear your clothes you got for Christmas and go to the basketball game and watch everybody play ball. And they still, I believe they still do that yet. I'm not really sure. I know they have high school. They have the Cochrane holiday tournament in Ketchikan. And everybody in Metlakatla would go. People would say, would the last person leaving the island please turn the light out? That's how much involved folks were, with basketball. But Christmas, brought people home, brought people together. Kids that went off to school, to college, would come home. As a matter of fact, I could tell you I wanted to come home. I was at Haskell Indian College back in the 60s. It was Haskell Institute. And I wanted to go home for Christmas so bad. And I would save my money to fly home. And there were Romy Atkinson, Danny Dundas Sr., Rhoda Hayward, Beverly Wesley, and myself. We decided, we're going home for the holidays. And we did. One trip we went home, we got to Seattle. And I believe it was Western Airlines back then. Western or Pacific Northern, one of them, said they weren't going to make the Annette Island flight in. That's where the airport was on our island, because of the weather. So they weren't taking passengers. I felt really bad. So all of us moved where my sister was living back then in those early 60s. She was living in Seattle, in Burien area. And so we all went to her place. Thought we were going to spend Christmas there. Well, we get a phone call from the airlines asking, because they knew we were from Annette Island and that was our only destination to go. And they said, we're going to be making an unexpected freight run to the island because there's so much mail and so much freight to go to Annette Island. How many of you, and would you folks want to go on that freight plane? Oh, we're going to make it home. We said, yes, definitely. They said, well, we need you to come out here. And they gave us a place to go where the freight planes were. We got there, and here were these men putting in seats for us on this freight plane of Western or Pacific Northern Airlines. They said, we're sorry that this is, going to get you home, we have no service on here, but here's a basket of fruit for you, and here's some water and some Coca-Cola. We thought, wow, at least they were treating us well to get home. And we flew in from Seattle on this freight plane. And all those men that worked at the airline were busy getting ready to take the freight off. And they said, we need one of the, we've got passengers on here that need to get off. So they pushed out that big ramp that you walk down, you step down to get out of that big plane. We got off the plane, and here was people we knew. There was Duke Wellington, Romy Atkinson Sr., and that was Romy Jr.'s dad that worked there. They didn't know we were coming. And Tom Atkinson, and Tom Atkinson's wife, Stella, Grandma Stella, she worked she had her little coffee shop in that airport. And here we all come just laughing, you know, because the guys on the ramp crew were laughing at us. They were surprised to see young people come off that plane. And we walked in, and there was Grandma Stella cleaning and singing. Mm-hmm. She turned around. Duh, she said, where'd you folks come from? And we said, the freight plane. She laughed so hard. And I said, can we get a ride home with you? And she said, sure, because it was 7 miles to drive. So she gave us a ride, and our families were shocked that we walked in the door. And there we were. Oh, that was, I think, one of the Christmases, you know, to remember, when the airline took care of the people, you know, that lived on that island. And they brought mail, they brought packages for people that were looking for mail. They wanted, you know, packages, their Christmas packages. And here we were a gift. We were a gift for our families when we walked in the door that evening, because it was dark and it was evening. And I remember my stepmom, Norma Blandov, walking in, and it was cold, and her glasses were all steamed up when she came in. And I said, hi, and she walked by me and said, hello. Didn't say any more till she cleaned her glasses. And she just screamed when she saw me. Where'd you come from? How'd you get here? So those are, you know, the things that growing up and going off to school, I remember. But always wanting to be home. Home for the holidays. Many of you probably have great, great memories, especially if you start thinking about them. Thinking about the Christmases, thinking of the gatherings that you had. But those days, I'll always cherish. I'll always remember. I share my stories with my one granddaughter, Lydia. And she was in the car with me here in Anchorage when she was going to the, I believe she was in the charter school then, the native charter school. And I picked her up from school, and we were talking about, when I'm going home, I was telling her one of my stories about my life at home. And she said, Gigi, that's what she called me, Gigi, you should write a book of your life. And I said, when? From the beginning to the end, or what? No, you have so many stories of your home. I love sitting and listening to you tell those stories. You should write a book. I said, Lydia, you're going to be into books. I know you are. And you want to know something, Lydia? You're going to write that book, because I love sharing stories with you, and you can share that story, all my stories. She said, Gigi, if I started from when you were little to where you are now, that's going to be one fat book. But I know, someday, it's good that technology today, you have this. You have the ability to share stories with the young people of what it was like living in your community. And I enjoyed it. Memories are what keep you happy and positive. In the bad times, the sad times, we laugh because we're remembering those days the days, the good old days of living in Metlakatla on a net island in Alaska. And Metlakatla, if you're able to see this, I miss you folks. I love all my family down there and my friends. You are missed. And someday, after COVID, we're all gonna come together. Remember those songs? When we all get together, what a happy, happy day we will have. Yes, yes. See, I could make up a song. I can go on and on. But thank you so much for letting me and allowing me to share a story during Christmas time. And with the snow in the background, I'm thinking of everyone at home. Be safe. I know this is going to be the first white Christmas Metlakatla's having in a long, long time. It always rains there, but you're in the white Christmas. So, Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, and for the new year, I wish you all the safest, healthiest, and loving time with your families and friends. Merry Christmas to everyone. Don't eat too many sweets, but follow with a good cup of coffee. All right, folks. Thank you again for letting me share with you the more life of Theo Bayou and living and growing up in my home in Metlakatla, in the Metlakatla.